Hey there, guys. Okay, so yesterday in class we started tackling Learning Unit 8, which deals with switch statements and a couple of other things. And the first thing you want to have a look at there is not to do with switch statements. In fact, they're covering a couple of methods before that. And they're showing you how to actually compare strings here. Now, you must remember, you cannot just say, you can see here on my screen, if we've got a string, and it's just the variable is name, and we just set it equal to Jane, and we've got string, and we've set it name2 equal to Bob. If we want to check if those two strings are equal, we cannot just say if name equals name2. The reason for that is, remember, a string is not a primitive data type in Java. Okay, so the way that it gets stored in memory does not allow you to just check for equality using an equal sign. So if you are trying to see if two objects, because that's what they are, okay, if you are trying to see if two objects are equal or if they are not equal, you must use the equals method. Okay, there is an equals method in the string class that will allow you to test for equality. So you would have to say that if name dot equals name2. So that's checking name1 against name2. And the result of that method is a Boolean. So you're going to get a true or a false from that. Obviously true if they are equal and false if they are not. Now, if you use the equals method, obviously it's going to check them exactly, and that means if there's capital letters, it takes it into account. If you want to check for equality, but you want to ignore the case, then there is another method. You can see it there. It's called equals ignore case. It works exactly the same. You just test name against name2. And this time it will check for equality, and it will ignore any uppercase or lowercase characters. It'll just look at them character by character, irrespective of what their case is. And obviously it does give you a true or a false result as well. So that is the equals and the ignore and the equals ignore case methods. Okay, then they cover in 8.1.2. Page 148, they show you how to use the two uppercase and the two lowercase methods. We have used those before, so you shouldn't have any problem with that. Essentially, those are methods in the string class that will allow you to completely uppercase a string or completely lowercase a string. Very easy to use. 8.1.3, they show you how strings are compared. So like here, we've got a string Jane and a string Bob. And because Bob is shorter than Jane, essentially what they do is they just add a space bar in. So when they add as many space bars as they need to make them the same length, and then they check them character by character. So they check both first characters first, then the second characters, then the third characters, etc., etc. So that is how they compare strings. Now, there is another very handy method if you want to check some sort of order. So if you want to see if something is where it fits in order, like alphabetical order, for example, there is a compare to method. Now, unlike equals and equals ignore case that give you a true or a false, compare to actually returns an integer. You wouldn't think so, but that is exactly what it does. Okay, so it returns you an integer. So if we want to know if Jane is less than Bob, obviously in alphabetical order, or whether it's greater than, or if the two are the same, we can use this compare to method. And once again, the compare to method is a method that belongs to the string class. So you can say name.compare to and name2. So it's going to compare name1 to name2. Now, here's the rub with this one. It's very interesting. It's going to give you an integer return. So if name is less than name2, you're going to get a -1 result. If they are equal, you'll get a 0. Okay, so you can see 0 if they're equal. And if name is greater than name2, then you're going to get a 1. So you have 3 possible results using the compare to method. Okay, it's an integer. You're going to get -1, 0, or 1, depending on whether it's less than, equal to, or greater than. So that's quite a handy method to know. Okay, you can just follow that through in the book. You can, on page 151, we've got some trace tables with if statements. You can just have a look through that. Exercise 1, you shouldn't have a problem with now. 8.3, so I'm on page 154 now. They give you an algorithm there for, and this is quite a common algorithm. We'll use this in programs as we program, through the year. They are using this here to determine sort of the largest and the smallest in a range of numbers. So let's say you write a piece of code and you allow somebody to say enter 20 different integers. And at the end of that, you want to know what was the smallest number they entered and what was the largest number they entered. So you can go through there. They show you how to do it. Basically, what you do is you just create two variables, one to hold the smallest and one to hold the largest. You start your program off. So whatever the person typed in first, you make that both the smallest and the largest, because at that point in time, it is both the smallest and the largest. And then each consecutive number they type in, you just compare it against the largest and the smallest. And obviously, if you've got a larger number, you just replace the number you've got, or you keep the number you've got if it's not. So that's quite an easy algorithm. You can just go through that and check how it works. They show you the flow chart for it there, so just make sure you know how that works. Okay, now we get to the switch statement. Okay, so I've written a piece of code here for you. Here it is here. I've actually taken question 1.1 in exercise 4 from learning unit 7. Okay, so that was the previous learning unit. You actually solved this using an if-else statements, or if-else statements. Okay, so I'm showing you another way you can do this. And this is using a switch statement. Okay, so here's what we've got. We are allowing the person to enter one of these three options in on the keyboard. They're either going to press an F, a B, or an S. So obviously, J option pane, show input dialog, that gives us a string. It's possible we don't know whether they entered an uppercase F or a lowercase f, or any of those letters for that matter, whether they entered them in uppercase or lowercase. So the easiest way to do this is, no matter what they did, force it to be uppercase by using the to uppercase method. That pushes whatever they entered, forces it to be uppercase. So now you are guaranteed to have an uppercase version of whatever they entered. We then take that string and we do a char at character 0. So we're going to convert that string. It's only one letter. Or if they entered more, it doesn't matter. We're just going to take the first character they put in, and we're going to save it as a char now. So char input is a character, okay? So here's the switch, okay? This is the switch over here. So how the switch works is there's the keyword switch, okay? Char input, this is the key. It only gets evaluated once, okay? So right there, we know what we have in our hand. And now we've got different cases here. So it's not if, else, if, else, if, else, if, else. Okay, so if you had a multiple if or an if, else, if statement, you can do it like that. Like I said, you already did. But this is another way you can do it. So here we have, instead, we have what we call cases. So you can see there I've got case, single inverted comma, F, because remember they are characters. Okay, characters are surrounded by single inverted commas. Strings are surrounded by double inverted commas. So we have characters here. So if it's an F, so case F, okay, colon, and then inside here, I haven't done it. You need to put the code to make a Hocha draw a green F on the screen, right? So here where that comment is, you would have a block of code in there. And then you issue a break. Okay, so that means once it's finished doing that, the break means jump out of the switch. We've used break before, and we can break out of loops, a for loop or a while loop. And so break will allow you to break outside of this switch statement. Okay, so if it's not an F, okay, the program keeps running down here and it says, well, did the person, is char input a B? Okay, if it is a B, then it's going to run whatever's in this area here. Okay, note there are no squigglies here. There are no squiggly brackets here. There's a squiggly bracket there and a squiggly bracket there, denoting the entire block of code for the switch. But each case statement does not have squigglies. Okay, it's this colon here that the compiler knows where the different cases are. So case B, it will do this and then do a break when it's finished. If the case was an S, so if the person typed an S, it does this piece of code here. Okay, you must put the code in there. I've just put a comment in its place. And then it's going to break. And if the person entered in something that was not an F, a B, or an S, in other words, if they put anything else in other than those, then we've got this default condition at the bottom. It's like the else in an if-else. It's like the catch-all. Okay, so if it's none of those, then this here will run. It'll then print out to the person that they must read the instructions because they typed in the wrong thing. So that is a switch statement. A switch statement is very handy for when you have a finite number of possibilities. Okay, here you could see there were only 3 possibilities, an F, a B, an S, or something else. Okay, so we could catch the something else with that, but there were 3 distinct possibilities here. That's where you can use a switch statement. You cannot do comparisons here, so you can't say if char input is less than something. You can't do that. These are fixed things. Okay, and with the result of that, you can take any switch statement like we've got here, and you can rewrite it as an if-else if. But you cannot say the other. You cannot say I can take every if-else if and write that as a switch. That is not true. Okay, and I'll leave that as an exercise for you to try and work out why that is not the case. Okay, so carrying on through the book, they just show you how the switch statement works. I've showed you how to do that. I'm going through page 161 now. Important points, just make sure you read through that. You'll be able to do this checkpoint now without a problem. Okay, I'm on to page 165. They talk about Boolean variables. We have done this before. Okay, Boolean variables is just true or false. Okay, it's just the mathematics of true or false. There's nothing freaky in there. You should be able to do that. Exercises, I don't see anything there that you will not be able to do. So that is it for Learning Unit 8. Okay, if you know how to deal with these methods here, equals and equals ignore case and the compare to, okay, so understand how that works. And if you understand how this switch works here, then you will have absolutely no problem working your way through Learning Unit 8.